Today I'm going to show you how to control Rive animation in Webflow using GSAP. Okay, let's get started. But first things first. Okay, I'm ready. We're going to implement this in 3 steps. First, we're going to set up Rive animation. Second, we're going to host Rive file directly in Webflow. And lastly, we use GSAP to control Rive animation in Webflow. Okay, let me show you exactly what we are going to build. Let's scroll down and see the animation. It's super simple. You see this airplane is flying and it goes away. Right now, we're gonna use Webflow, we're gonna use Rive, we're gonna use GSAP, and with the help of ChatGPT, which just means you don't have to know a lot about code to implement all of this. You just have to ask ChatGPT to do it for you. And there we go. One more time. So when we scroll, we see this airplane is flying. Good. You can do this animation in a lot of different ways. You can control SVG with GSAP, and here is this nice snippet that does exactly this. So when you scroll, the line is moving, right? You can also make Lottie file and control it with Webflow IX interactions. But the point of this video is to be able to control Rive animation in Webflow using GSAP. What is Rive? Let's check their website. This is a tool for making really awesome animations. And if you're familiar with After Effects, you will learn this tool super fast. Even if you're not, and you know tools like Webflow or Figma, it's quite similar. This is nice part, something that you cannot do with actually Lottie. On hover, it no matter which state animation was before, it always blends nicely with additional animations. So this is the benefit. In my tutorial, I'm going to review very simple animation. It doesn't require to be done with Rive, but the purpose is to learn how to do it. Okay, let's get started. So first, we need to set up Rive file. And we start setup from Figma. Because in Figma, we're gonna have our SVG file. It's super simple. It is just curve that made with pen, and we have one airplane here. So the only thing that you have to do is export this file as SVG. The next thing, you simply drag and drop your SVG file, and this will appear in the asset panel inside of Rive. You take this airplane and you simply drag it to the artboard here. You can align with your artboard. And before I made this artboard, I made it exactly the same width and height as my frame from Figma. Now what we want to do is we want to set constraints for this airplane. We want the airplane to follow this curve. So what we do is we take the airplane and we set constraints, follow path, and now we click this icon, we set the target, and we say path. Now it's aligned with the path. How to control it? We click the path, and now we can change distance here. You see, it follows exactly the line, it follows all the rotation, everything exactly like we need. Good, and we set a distance to 0. Next thing, we also want to be able to control path. And path you can control here. You click here, you select sequential, and then now you can control start and you can control end. Okay, awesome. The next thing in Rive, we need to go to animate mode. In animate mode, we have state machine and we have timeline. For now, let's focus on timeline. In timeline is same as in After Effects. You just do your changes and you move on a timeline and you apply all your changes. So in this dropdown, you set the duration. It is 2 seconds, and for me, it's fine. Okay, now this is our entire timeline. First, we need to set, let's say, airplane position, and we click on airplane. We go to follow path, and we click distance. We set this is our first frame. Right now, what we want to do is we want to go to the very end here, and we want to say 1%. And when I hit enter, it just creates this frame automatically for me, which is super cool. Now when we move between lines, we can simply see that this airplane is just moving through the line. Good. The next, we want to control the line. So what we want to do is we want to start our pass with stroke start on 0. Hit enter, keyframe already created. Command dot will move you to the next keyframe. In this next keyframe, what we want to do is we want to change follow pass 100. Yep, nice. I want this pass to also be following the line here, so it doesn't take the entire screen. And I also want to maybe finish somewhere here, and I will show you exactly why. So when we are on this position, we want the end of the line also follow the line. So what we do is we go to pass, we click stroke, and we set end to something like this. Yeah. And also let's change cap of the line to be rounded, not sharp. We switch to rounded. Now we go here. Another thing that I wanted to do, actually, when you go to the very end, this is exactly where I want this line. I want this to be 100%. Good. So now let's check our animation. We simply hit space and we check how it looks. Woo! Okay, not exactly what we want, and the reason for this is because we didn't set on this keyframe, I didn't set end to 0 probably. Now let's check it. Yeah, so we have to set end to be 0%. Now it's gonna work like expected. Let's check again. Yep, looking awesome. So we set up our animation, this is what we want. And the next thing is our state machine. So what state machine does, it controls state. I'm not going to dive deep into state machine in this tutorial because we have super simple use case. It's entry, then it goes to timeline plays. This is all we need. So very important part here, and something that I was struggling with and I was looking everywhere how to do it, how to control it with GSAP. GSAP can control anything, any values that you can give it, it can control, right? But we need some values. We have to assign those values to JavaScript and GSAP will control it. So here in Rive, you have inputs, and inputs, when you click input, you can create number, boolean, and trigger. For us, we need number because we want to control between 0 and 100. So there is something that you can set, and this is just like, you can set 0 to whatever. For us, the main point is we have this input, and we give it a name, progress. So progress will control the progress of the line of the animation actually moving from 0 to 100. So what to do next? We have to set inside of our timeline blending between start and end. But here, in this animation, we have a lot of different keyframes. So to make it happen, what we're going to do, we're going to recreate absolutely the same animation in nested artboard. Good. So I just duplicated the same animation, but what I'm gonna do is I'm going to remove everything from here. And we call it, let's call it production 2. Now when we have our artboard here, we want to bring nested artboard, and you can simply click Command N. So I click here in the corner and I select airplane 2. Good. Now let's align it perfectly, 0, 0. And as you can see now it's controlled by state machine, but we don't want to control it with state machine, we want to control it with JavaScript, with inputs. So we remove it and we add new animation and we call it timeline remap, because we want to remap this timeline 1. Good. Now we set remap and we say, now we can control it with time. Now as you can see when I drag it, I can control it. Good. So what we need is we need 0. 0 is our start. And we're going to control it inside of new timeline. So this new timeline will be start. In start, we simply go and say time 0 set. Now we just want to duplicate it and we're gonna call another timeline. And in this end, we click here and we say time 100. So now this is end frame. Okay, so now we have keyframes start, we have end. And now what we want to do inside of state machine, we want to blend them. we go to timeline and we're going to blend them from entry to blend. And now we have this input created. This is progress input here. And we set progress. Now we add timeline. And we set timeline is start. And now we want to add something that we want to blend start with. And this is going to be end. End is 100. Now we have this blend start end. When this progress value will change, we will see the changes in the animation. So let's check it. So I'm going to play it, nothing happens, but we need to change value for this. As you can see, I'm switching between 0 and 100 and the animation is playing. This is exactly what I was struggled with, and this is exactly the right flow to do it. Because right now we don't have to worry about all of different states inside of our artboard one. We can change as much as we want. But what we want to play the animation from start to end, and we simply can do it with the simple setup. So now we have to host this animation inside of Webflow. This is the second step. So now when you click export, you can give your file name airplane2 and just add .txt in order to feed it to Webflow. That's all you have to do. Now we save it. Okay. The next thing, we want to bring this file into Webflow. I open Webflow and I simply drag and drop this airplane2 to my assets here. Here is the file, we simply copy, and this is how we host file. So the next thing we want to do is we want to set up GSAP to control it. So in order to bring animation to Webflow, we need canvas. How to make this canvas inside of Webflow? You simply hit Command E and you type custom element. Inside of custom element, I already gave it a class canvas airplane, so I just recreate it. But what you want to do is you want to go to settings and you want set tag to canvas. Now we want to give this canvas ID and we simply say ID airplane 2. Done. And this is all you need to set up place where you're gonna render your animation. Next thing is JavaScript. First, we need to set up GSAP. We also want to set up scroll trigger here for GSAP. And the next one is we wanna add Rive GS here. So this is all three files added into head. I'm using async and defer. Actually, let's use defer for everything. The next thing is control Rive with GSAP. The way I aim this setup to be is that I will have multiple instances and I can repeat the setup with simply putting only my ID and some necessary setup ID, and I can repeat it. So here what we have is when our file is loaded, this will render animation inside of our canvas ID. We will take the file that we host here and we should put it here. So source file is right here and we change our source file. This is updated file. Now we say this is done with canvas and canvas is the canvas ID, which is taken from here. There is no autoplay. And this is all set up for Rive. The next thing is we want to bring GSAP. We want to control it with GSAP. Here is initialization of GSAP, scroll trigger. So here's the scroll trigger. And we say with trigger ID, which we set up later. When trigger ID, and trigger ID is the same as the canvas. So when the top of this canvas hit the center of the screen, animation will start, and this will end when the bottom of the canvas hit the center of the screen. So this is what we want to do. And we want to do this with these steps. The next thing is our setup actually here. So we have this our canvas ID, which is airplane 1, and we just gave it airplane 2. Now we have this artboard, we have production 1 and we have production 2. Now we're gonna give 2. And we also have state machine 1, state machine 1. Let's check it here. So we simply go here and we check that in the second artboard we also have state machine 1. This is the name, good state machine 1. And trigger ID is airplane 2. So you could have like different triggers, but this is the same trigger to trigger the animation. Okay, this is all we actually need. Now, if all done correctly, this should work. So I'm just save it. You can do everything with Slater if you want. You can host your files whenever you want, but I just do it all the way, straight inside of Webflow. Good. Now if we go here and we update our file, hopefully it's gonna work. Now we see this first animation, everything is coming together here, and there we go. Okay. Yeah. This is exactly what we wanted to have. This animation is playing, and the airplane is making loop-de-loop and goes away. That's it. You can also probably change position of this, so it will start just early, or maybe airplane will start flying from here and goes here. This is all details, but the most important part was that how actually you can connect values in Rive, this progress, with GSAP. That was the most difficult part for me to figure this out, and I'm super happy to share it now with you. So if you just follow the same steps, you will be able to play any complex animation you have on the left side. Okay guys, I hope this video will help you to run your awesome animations inside of Webflow using Rive. It was very fun learning process, and I'm super keen to see what you're gonna do with this. Thank you. Bye.